welcome to Natural Prana.
Hi guys, we just wanted to do a video just talking about our relationship and how we've changed going from, you know, where we started to being like a mostly raw vegan family. I meant to touch on this in our previous video when I talked about how our whole life has changed, our journey, but I really didn't get into it very much. So I'll just start from the beginning, from when we met, and that was in 2009, and I had just turned 19 and Korey was 21, and we met through a mutual friend, and we were both pretty, you know, typical teenagers, I would say. We drank, went out, very materialistic. We liked nice things. We both had nice cars. And that was one thing that I liked about him, unfortunately, was that, you know, that he liked to like dress nice and have all these nice things and stuff like that.
Yeah, it was definitely one thing that drew us together.
Yeah, it was material items. So then we ended up getting pregnant with our daughter right away, right after we first met. And we pretty much stayed together. We've been together ever since. There was a short time while I was pregnant that we didn't really talk very much. But then towards the end of my pregnancy, we started talking again, and then we've just been together ever since. So, our materialism and just, you know, just the way that we really lived our lifestyle pretty much stayed the same while we moved to Arizona. It wasn't until we kind of got, you know, away from all of our friends that were into the same thing and stuff like that, that we started changing. So, sorry, that's our puppy. Can you let him out, Ava? So one thing, when we moved here, is when I started looking into being more natural. Now we were still drinking, we just started drinking like organic, like wine, and just stuff with...
Organic beer.
And organic beer, yeah. So we were still drinking and going out, and we were still very materialistic at that time too. But we were also looking into more ethical things. So we were still being materialistic, but we were just being, I guess, smarter, that, you know, we thought about our choices.
Right, and a lot of it was health reasons too. That's why we were drinking organic stuff. We didn't know how horrible alcohol was just in general at the time.
So whenever, because I was the one that was researching like about being organic, just with food, and being more natural, like not using chemicals in our body products and in our household products. So I was looking up, you know, all this stuff, and he was pretty easygoing. I mean, he is very easygoing. So I was just, you know, like every change that I wanted to make, I just would say, I'm going to do this, this, and this, and he just said, okay. And sometimes, you know, like why, and then I would just explain it, but it was very simple, like making those kind of changes. He was never, you know, like against anything that I wanted to change. Even when our parenting style is very similar. We just agree on a lot of things. I think we got, I don't want to say lucky, but it's just always been easy for us to make changes with each other because we always just agree. And when we don't, I don't want to say we agree on every single thing. There's some things that, you know, of course we have different opinions on, but I think one of the important things that we do is respect that we are two different people and have differing points of view, I guess. I know one thing that people ask a lot about is being vegan together, like, which that happened. I mean, we watched a documentary, and this was after we had, at that point we were actually like not drinking and going out really, and we had kind of realized that material things didn't matter.
And we were already eating a lot of vegetables at the point too, but we were still eating meat as well.
Right, and a lot of animal products we were still eating too. But it was, you know, then we started getting out of the whole materialism, and we started getting rid of a lot of things and realizing that we didn't need all the stuff that we had. And even things like with myself, I stopped, you know, like really wearing makeup, and he liked it better when I didn't wear makeup. And it was just, things were very simple to change because we didn't have standards set for each other, I don't think.
Yeah, we weren't thinking that this is how it has to be, so this is how we need to be doing it. We would look at it for ourselves and decide what would actually make sense.
Right, what made sense to us. So, like I said in another video, I still wear mascara sometimes, and he hates when I do. He would rather I just not wear anything. But like, I stopped coloring my hair, and I stopped shaving, and he obviously stopped shaving his beard and growing out his hair. And it was just kind of like, I don't know, we just accept each other it's more comfortable for us to do what we're doing, and we just accept that the other person is doing that. And then when it came to being vegan, we were watching documentaries at that point, and the one we watched was Cowspiracy, and as soon as it was over, I asked him what he thought, and he said, "What do you mean?" And I just said that I'm not going to eat meat or animal products anymore. And he said, "Me neither." So it was like pretty much as easy as that. I think because we both are interested in the same things, so it's really easy for us to make changes together. I know some people are with somebody that isn't vegan, or even like have a similar lifestyle, and I honestly do not think that a relationship could work being so extreme opposites. It would be so hard. Even just, I mean, we first initially started to become vegan for ethical reasons and for the environment. It wasn't even like a health aspect at that point. But then we started realizing just how bad like all the meat and animal products really are, how harmful they are to our bodies. And I think it would just be so hard to live with somebody and even raise your children, because that's the easy part, is that we both agree on the best way to raise our kids. So there's no issues there. There's no conflict at all about that. The one thing that we did, the only thing really that we started having differing views on was going raw. And that was really only after I became pregnant, because I was the one who started looking into raw vegan when we started eating vegan. And in the beginning, it was really easy for us to be, it just made sense. And we felt really, really good. And then I got pregnant, and I think a lot of my hormones, just from like my previous being on birth control and just how I was in my previous pregnancy, I was having the same cravings for food, and it was really hard for me to, which it still is sometimes, to forget about that and realize what's, you know, like the best and the most optimal for us. That was really the only thing in our relationship, as far as our diet goes, where we were conflicting. And
it comes down to addiction.
Yeah. Right.
You really get addicted to cooked food, and that's what crept up, and she started, sometimes still wants some of that stuff, but I mean, you just look to see what it actually is.
And it was things that I wasn't even eating for a long time before I got pregnant. Not even just because we became raw, and then very shortly after I became pregnant. But it was stuff that I hadn't eaten in years, really, because we had stopped eating fast food and we weren't eating processed foods, or I guess minimally processed foods, because we were still eating meat. That's obviously processed. But we weren't eating like fast food or anything like that. And that was stuff I was craving, like things like French fries and cupcakes and just weird things that when I was pregnant with my daughter, I indulged in all of that, and just me being pregnant made me relate it and want it really bad. So at that point, when we were very different, I guess not very different, it was just that I was wanting like a lot more cooked food, and he was very passionate about being raw. And the only thing that, you know, like he said, like, what, that it was, I could do whatever I wanted to, but he couldn't do it with the kids, because how I ate would affect, I guess, how the kids ate.
Our daughter copies her.
Very much so. Every single thing I do. So, which an example is when I first became pregnant, or before I was pregnant, when we were eating a lot of raw, my two favorite foods were mango and avocado. And I was eating those like on a daily basis, a lot of them. And as soon as I got pregnant, I had terrible food aversions to both of those. I couldn't even like cut one open or like smell either one of those. And she was eating those too. And then as soon as I stopped eating them, she would not eat them at all. She would not touch a mango. She said she didn't like avocado anymore. And she was eating like salads with avocado and stuff. And then when I started getting into my second trimester, I was not as sick anymore, and I was able to eat more. So I started, you know, like I would eat like a half of an avocado, and she started noticing that I was starting to eat more avocados. So as soon as she saw me eating more avocados, she started asking for avocados again. And then she started noticing that I was, you know, like starting to eat more mangoes, so then she started asking for mangoes. So she very much does, like, she pays attention to every single thing I do, and she wants to be just like me. So he knew that if I went back to eating how we used to, with mostly cooked, and just the things that I was craving, that she would also follow in my footsteps. And that's really, when we talked about how we wanted to raise our kids, we wanted to raise them as optimally as possible. And eating the foods that we were eating was definitely not as optimal as we could raise them. And the reason why we wanted to do that was because, you know, like, we're her guides for now until she gets to that age where she can make her own decisions. But until then, we don't want to put anything in her that's going to alter her decision and how she wants to live her lifestyle. So
Right. Once you are addicted to cooked food, it takes a very strong, conscious effort to stop eating it, which I don't want our children to have to go through
right.
if they decide not to.
Right. So we haven't decided what age, that would be appropriate for her to make that decision yet. We're just kind of going, like with the flow pretty much. But she's about to turn 6, and especially because of what we fed her for so long, we don't feel that she has the ability, I guess, to make that decision for what she feels is right for her yet. But we definitely will not, if she chooses to not even be vegan when she gets to a certain age, that's 100% her choice. She's her own person, and we respect that. So pretty much with our relationship, we fully accept that we are individuals and we have our own opinions, and we don't have to be exactly the same. Like, there's things that, he's interested in that I'm not. Even when we were into all of our materialistic things, the one thing that he did a lot was play video games. And I always did not really like video games. I never found it interesting, but even at that point, the way I saw it was that was his hobby, and if that's how he wanted to spend his time, then I would go and do something, like for myself, because he was doing that for himself. So I think that's what it's really about, is accepting the other person for who they are and not expecting them to act a certain way or do certain things just because certain standards have been set in society. That's what I think.
Right, yeah, I mean, we're very similar, but at the same time very different, which is how I think a good relationship is going to be, because you're going to have the same interests, but you're going to come at it in different angles and in your own perspective. And you're going to combine them, and that's how you're going to go forward with it. But like she said earlier, it would be very hard for someone vegan to be with someone who's not vegan, particularly if they have children. It would make it that much harder on top of it. But it's a lot easier when you are both going through the same transitions with each other and embracing it both openly and ready for whatever's going to come next as well, which is how we are. We're always ready for what we're going to change next, what we're going to do next. We're never sitting here set in stone that this is what we're doing and we're done, because we're constantly moving, constantly evolving, and constantly looking to evolve each other, which is also a key point that in relationships is, are you with someone to help them be the best person they can be, help them be who they are, or are you with them to drain them of their energy and use them for yourself? Because that's how a lot of relationships go. They drain each other because they want to use everything they can out of it instead of giving all of your energy to them as much as possible, which is how we see it with each other.
Right, and that's what we're taught in the society, I think, is that you do expect so much from the other person. It's always, what are they doing for you? And then you have like a certain thought that they're supposed to be doing this, 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 and this, and then when they don't, then you get angry, and because you're expecting that, and then you're not getting it. So I think not having those expectations of each other, it really, really helps, because you shouldn't expect anything from anyone, really. it all comes from you. So, and one thing he said is about being open, and I think that's another thing that has helped us is that, like some of the things that, you know, like we both look into different things, and because we both have different interests sometimes, the same interests but different things. So he'll tell me something, and sometimes it doesn't make sense to me. And at that point, I have to remember to be open, because I don't necessarily have to believe, you know, well, you shouldn't believe anything that you're told. You should like take in that information and then think about how you feel about it yourself. Not just believe, you know, like what somebody else is saying, but we're always open to listen to each other's thoughts and opinions about stuff and not judge, you know, like not judge it right away or say that that person's wrong or something like that, if that makes sense. But what else is there?
One thing, how she said about not expecting anything from each other. One thing that I heard this saying today that our society says is happy wife, happy life, which it goes both ways. The wife isn't the one that controls the relationship, which is how our society tries to make it seem. And you both have your own roles to play, which when you are living that life, you're going to have problems in a relationship because there's going to be times that doesn't happen like that. Even if that is how you are living, you're not going to be able to live up to those standards because they're not the standards that you actually set for yourself. You're just going off of what society has put in front of you. And we learned that a while ago in our relationship, and it is one of the reasons why we stayed together so long and have been able to keep moving forward with everything, because we don't expect us to do anything for the other one, but when we do, we completely appreciate it and love the fact that they are.
Right, and I think another thing that I just thought of is that we always believe too that both people should be happy. So when I first became pregnant, of course, in our society, when, you know, a couple gets pregnant, they automatically think that you should get married and that you have to be together. And obviously we were both really, really young, and she was not planned at all. Not that she was not the best thing that ever happened to us, but at the time that's just not what we had planned, but it was obviously what the universe had planned. But we never had the thought in our head that we had
planned it on a higher level.
Yeah. We never had the thought that we had to be together just because we had a baby together. It was always because we, you know, liked each other and enjoyed being in each other's company. And it was never because we felt like that was what we had to do. And I think a lot of people in that situation do feel like that's what they, you know, have to do because that's what we're told. That you can't break that family apart. You have to keep them together. You can't do that to the kid. What's going to happen? And I think we both have talked about it before, that each other's happiness is more important than being miserable just so that we could stay together. So of course we believe that you know, having our family together is important and probably the best, but only if we're both happy. So if at any point one of us becomes unhappy, we both don't see a reason for us to stay together just because we, you know, like had this family together. If we're not getting along and we're not on our, you know, like the path that we feel like we're supposed to be on, then we don't feel like we should make the other person be together for that reason. So we both are under the understanding that we don't just have to stay together, especially now. And we didn't even, you know, like we were together the whole entire time since we met. But we just got married a year ago, and one of the reasons, well, first of all, we didn't even see a significance in getting married because it's just a piece of paper, and
a piece of paper they're making money off of.
Exactly.
I wish we didn't get married.
Right. And we just didn't feel like it was important just for, like everybody kept saying, you've been together for 4 years, you've been together for 5 years, when are you going to get married? Why aren't you guys married yet? And to us, that just wasn't, like that's something that society tells you, that when you're together with somebody, or when you really love somebody, you should get married. Well, no, when you really love somebody, you should just be with that person. You don't have to get married. Mm-hmm. So it took us a long time to even get married because we didn't see a point in it. And we just went to the courthouse and got married. We didn't, our family, none of our family was even there actually, because we didn't want to make a big deal out of it because it wasn't a big deal to us. We just drove to California, got married, and then we went on a vacation, and our daughter was with us, and it was not a big deal at all. So
yeah, we don't even wear our wedding ring. It's all tradition that we're supposed to do. Right.
So I think that's another thing that has helped us, is that we don't try to conform to society's standards of even just of what a couple should be. And being married is a good example. And yeah, wearing our rings and having the traditional roles of husband and wife, stuff like that. We don't listen to any of that crap because it doesn't matter, and it ends up making you unhappy in the end anyway. So,
because you're not doing what you want to do.
Right.
When you're not doing what you want to do, you will be unhappy.
Right. So, I mean, throughout this, our journey so far, because now we are not into material things at all. If we lost everything tomorrow, it would not matter. And we both recognize that, and it has just helped us evolve into the couple that we are, and to the individuals that we are too. So we just fully accept each other. We don't expect anything from each other. We don't have standards set for each other. So I think that's what helped us the most.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Do you have anything else?
Mm-hmm.
So I think that's it. Thank you for watching.
Yep. Make sure to visit our website at naturalprana.net, like this video, and subscribe to our channel. Have a good night, everyone.